That night, I drove my daughter to the airport for what I thought was just another work trip. Everything seemed normal until my grandson, who is only 7 years old, grabbed my hand tightly. His eyes, wide with panic, froze me in place. With a trembling voice, he whispered, "Grandma, don't let us go back to the house. I heard Mama planning something against us this morning. Please believe me." In that instant, something inside me broke. Without asking any questions, I started the car and fled with him into the dark night. But before we continue, make sure you're already subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We'd love to know how far our stories are traveling. My name is Aar Binham. I am 70 years old, and until that night, I thought I knew my daughter Candace like the back of my hand. I live with her and my grandson Devon ever since the death of my son-in-law Reggie 3 years ago. It was a car accident that left deep scars on all of us, especially on little Devon, who has since become an extremely observant and quiet child. That Thursday, we drove Candace to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for a business trip to Chicago. She's a marketing manager at a big firm and travels frequently. We arrived early. The terminal was relatively empty, and the icy blast of the air conditioning made me hug my thin coat closer to my body. "It'll only be 3 days, Mama." Candace smiled as she adjusted her carry-on bag. "Take good care of Devon and don't forget his medication." Devon, standing beside me, clutched his dinosaur backpack tightly, watching his mother with intense eyes. He's never been a boy of many words, but that night he was even quieter than usual. "Everything will be fine, my love. We always make it work, don't we, Devon?" I tried to include my grandson in the conversation, but he just nodded silently. Candace crouched down in front of her son and smoothed the hair falling over his eyes. "Be good for Grandma. Go, Mama. I'll be back soon." She kissed him on the forehead, and Devon remained still like a small statue. I watched my daughter with a swelling heart. Despite the hardships, she had become a strong, independent woman. After losing her husband, she threw herself into work with even greater determination, perhaps as a way to escape the pain. I admired her resilience, even if I noticed a certain emotional distance growing between us. "I have to go," she said, checking her watch. "Boarding starts in half an hour." We shared a brief hug, a mechanical embrace without much warmth, something that had become common between us lately. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the gate. We watched her silhouette move away until she disappeared into the crowd. "Let's go. Devon, it's getting late," I said, taking my grandson's hand. We walked down the terminal corridor toward the parking garage. Devon didn't say a single word the whole way. His silence didn't worry me. It was just his way. Since his father's accident, he communicated more with looks and gestures than with words. The parking garage was poorly lit. Only a few yellow lamps cast shapeless shadows on the concrete floor. Few cars were parked at this hour. I pressed the alarm button and the lights of our old Chevy Impala blinked. I started walking toward the car, gently pulling Devon by the hand. That's when I felt it, a strong, almost violent pull. Devon had stopped suddenly and was gripping my wrist with such force that his small fingernails left marks on my wrinkled skin. I turned around confused. "What is it, sweetie?" I asked, bending down to his level. Devon's face was pale beneath the yellowish light of the pole. His eyes, always watchful, were now wide with pure terror. I had never seen such an expression on his little face. A chill ran down my spine. "Grandma," he whispered so softly that I had to lean in to hear. "Don't let us go back to the house. Please believe me." I stood there confused, thinking maybe he was afraid of the empty house without his mother. "Don't worry, my love. We'll be fine. Just the two of us for a few days." He shook his head vigorously, gripping my wrist even harder. "No, Grandma." "Don't go back to the house," he repeated, his voice now cracking. This morning, I heard Mama on the phone in the home office. She was talking about us. My heart pounded. What did you hear, Devon? He swallowed, his lips trembling slightly. He leaned in even closer to my ear. Mama said after we fell asleep that everything was ready. She said, make sure there are no mistakes. The gas has to look like an accidental leak. My blood froze in my veins. I stood paralyzed, staring at those innocent eyes that now carried the weight of a terrible secret. Please, Grandma, his voice was a shaky thread. Believe me this time. That last sentence hit me like a slap. I remembered other times Devon had tried to warn me. When he said he saw his mother hiding papers in the office, my mind reeled as I drove, my grandson's words echoing in my ears. Believe me this time. He was right. This wasn't the first time he had tried to warn me, and the memory of my own dismissal washed over me with a fresh wave of guilt. I found a small, rundown motel off the highway and paid for a room in cash. Inside, the air was stale, and the only light came from a flickering lamp by the bed. I laid Devon down, his small body finally succumbing to the exhaustion of the night. As I watched his chest rise and fall, another memory surfaced, clearer this time, and far more chilling. It was about a month ago. I was in the kitchen, and Devon came in, his expression unusually serious for a 7-year-old. Grandma, he said, tugging on my sleeve. Mama has secret papers in her office. She told me never, ever to go in there. I had smiled and patted his head. Oh, honey, all grown-ups have boring work papers. It's nothing to worry about. He had insisted, his voice earnest. No, they're different. She hides them. I dismissed his concern, attributing it to the imagination of a lonely child. Now, sitting in the deafening silence of this strange room, his words were a condemnation. I had failed to listen. I had chosen comfort over caution. Those papers ... What secrets did they hold? Was this linked to the gas leak? I looked at Devon, my heart aching with a fierce, protective love. He had trusted me, even when I hadn't trusted him. I knew then, with absolute certainty, what we had to do. We couldn't run forever. The answers were back at the house, locked away in Candace's office. We had to go back. The lock clicked, and the door swung open. For a heart-stopping second, Candace just stared, her eyes flicking from me to Devon, then down to the damning papers in my hand. The mask of a loving daughter evaporated. What stood in her place was a stranger. You were never supposed to see those, she said, her voice chillingly calm. She confessed it all: the murder, the debts, the plan to erase us. This creature was not my child. Looking at Devon's terrified face, a lifetime of love ignited into a firestorm of defiance. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a brass desk lamp, and with a strength I didn't know I possessed, I screamed and hurled it through the window. The shattering glass was our signal. Run! We scrambled past her, a frantic flight through our own home, bursting through the front door just as the first police car screeched into the driveway. As they led the shell of my daughter away, a strange peace settled over me. The flashing lights weren't just the end of a nightmare. They were the dawn of a new day. I pulled the blanket tighter around Devon, his steady breathing a quiet promise of tomorrow. We had walked through fire, but we had walked out together. The house behind us was just a building filled with ghosts, but our home was right here, safe in my arms. The past was a story of silence and secrets, but our future would be one of truth and healing, spoken aloud.